I'm almost positive this is going to be the one where I'm going to piss a lot of you off, if I haven't already. But I'm going to take the angle on this horrific plane tragedy, and let's call it what it is. It was absolutely horrific. And actually look at the positive on this. Oh, that's just ridiculous. We should be mourning the victims, and I've heard that already, and I understand, and we are. But here's something different that's happening here, and this is something that should give you hope. Competency is coming. Hiring people in really important safety positions based on merit instead of what they look like, instead of what they sound like, or, what category they fit into. Common sense is coming back. And it sucks, and I get it, that it took a tragedy like this to get to that point to make most of us say enough is enough on this. But here we are. And it should give you hope. It should. It'll all make sense. Stick with me on that. Speaking of hope, after all that tragedy, we'll actually talk about an amazing Super Bowl. I love the part of the Super Bowl lead up these couple of weeks where there's nothing going on, but they have all the feel-good stories. A lot of charitable events. A lot of human interest stories. There's a great one coming out of the Philadelphia Eagles side of things. This should give you a smile today for this young kid that's been in the hospital. Well, he's going to the game. You know what that means? Chiefs fans, step up your game because the Eagles have you beat so far. So we'll talk about that as well. And so far, anyway, you know how they always release the Super Bowl ads early? I think they got the best one so far. When Harry Met Sally's back. It's pretty good. It's not too bad. We'll play that up as well. We got to get to the big story of the day, and I knew it was going to be like this too. It took a day, just because of the timing of it, for all the press conferences to happen, to the statement from the administration to happen, for former whistleblowers in that industry to come out, and it did. And we got that today. Now let's start with the press conference from the administration yesterday for President Trump. And here's the first thing that happened that was a little bit different, that we're not used to. We're not used to seeing this. Right away, people taking responsibility and saying what's going to be done. And here's why I say, hey, take the politics out of it. I'm just talking about comparing now to 4 years ago. Here's a good example. Do you remember in East Palestine, Ohio, with that horrific train accident that happened and released all kinds of toxic chemicals? We didn't get a press conference on that till 2 days after. And then we know that with lack of government response, okay? Now, the amount of people that came out yesterday from the administration talking about it was really actually kind of stunning. And we shouldn't be stunned because that's the way it should be. Let's start with the president's words first. And it's all about taking responsibility. And he started to dig in, and even I said, whoa, okay, wow, this kicked up a notch. Started talking about the problems in hiring in that industry and how things are going to change, like right away. This is the first press conference out of the president. Then we'll hear from the transportation secretary.
Then my administration will set the highest possible bar for aviation safety. We have to have our smartest people. It doesn't matter what they look like, how they speak, who they are. It matters intellect, talent, the word talent.
Just from talking to aviation people over the past few years, just going back to the radio world, I've heard many anecdotal stories about what's been hired within the Federal Aviation Administration, let alone the airlines. So I've heard these stories. Then you hear the president come out and say that, and pretty much doing everything but blaming incompetence for what happened here. And the one steady phrase that kept on coming out of anybody that spoke about this from an official standpoint yesterday was this was completely preventable. But then I'm like, after the president's words and the transportation secretary, we'll hear from him in a second here, started thinking, well, how bad is it? Somebody sent me this. I had to go back and rewatch it. Michael Pearson is a former air traffic controller. You might have caught him last night. I think he was on a couple of different networks because he's been trying to blow the whistle on this stuff for a long time. Michael Pearson, who's a former air traffic controller. Here's what he said last night. This clip is from Fox.
This is a preventable disaster. The system has been under attack due to DEI and the FAA bowing to wokeness since 2010, since the Obama administration. The lack of staffing is directly attributable to the Obama administration terminating the lists of eligible, well-trained air traffic control statements in 36 universities across the country in 2013 because they were too white.
Whoa.
The FAA also, at the same time, implemented an immunity program.
And he went on, it's a little long. The immunity program he's talking about was the most shocking thing to me anyway, besides the fact that, you're not hiring people who are qualified because of their color. I thought we were supposed to get away from that no matter what the color is. Anyway, off topic. You talked about this immunity program where they can pretty much fudge the numbers for near misses and near accidents to cover it up. So anybody that actually was incompetent and made mistakes weren't held to the carpet or held to the fire. It was covered up. Like you couldn't go after them, not to prosecute them, but actually, get rid of them. I mean, I was concerned before about this kind of stuff, but how about that? Okay, then you follow it up with this. Here's the brand new press secretary, transportation secretary. This guy, Sean Duffy, just got confirmed in his new role. This is his first day on the job. Imagine that. Hey, welcome. Here's your office. Oh, well, we're getting word now. We've had a major air tragedy. Can you put some facts together and get ready to speak tomorrow on that? But here he was yesterday, again, echoing the same thing. And it was a consistent message from everybody in any kind of a position of authority. Sean Duffy, transportation secretary. Again, not playing politics, but compare this to the last one we had, where it was past the buck and literally months later before they started to get some answers on it. Months later. That's different.
That's not acceptable. And so we will not accept excuses. We will not accept passing the buck. We are going to take responsibility at the Department of Transportation and the FAA to make sure we have the reforms that have been dictated by President Trump in place to make sure that these mistakes do not happen again.
Okay, well, that's what we want to hear. Now you got to follow up with it, right? You actually get it done. So whatever changes are coming to that industry, that branch of the military as well, let's not forget about them, and the FAA with the air traffic controllers has to happen, right? And before I get to what you're going to think is an insane take about this, how actually, believe it or not, there's going to be some positive stuff to think about this at the end of it. I know it's insane until you hear me out. What are some of the other mistakes? And we knew it would take a couple of days, but here you go. Now, this is a Daily Mail article. They're usually good with this kind of stuff, but what they do is they collect all the other stuff that's been printed so far with all the investigative journalists, right? All the catastrophic mistakes that led to the D.C. plane crash is revealed. Well, they're all coming out now, and you may think, like I am, well, what kind of mistakes? Here's one. This was a New York Times discovery, by the way. It's in their story, and the Daily Mail just kind of republished it. An air traffic controller was reportedly allowed to leave their post early, just before American Flight 5342 collided midair. All right, that's not good. And then the first thing we heard was a lot of blame being placed on the actual military. It's also emerged that the Army helicopter, which was carrying 3 soldiers, deviated from their path, reportedly, from where they were supposed to be at first. Coming down to the same thing, that no one was talking to each other. Okay, that when they say those kinds of mistakes can't happen and are unacceptable, and changes will be made, I think that's what they're talking about. What surprised me yesterday was how many people I heard of in my personal life and reading online, and I like serious. And there were poll questions put up saying, "Would you ever fly again?" And the amount of people that I heard personally saying, "No, that's it. I'm not. Nope, done. Whatever. I'll drive. I'll drive to wherever I have to go. I'll take a train, whatever it is." I understand that reaction, and I get it, but I honestly think, and this is where you're going to think I'm insane. I honestly think we're never going to have the kind of safety we've ever had compared to what's coming. In other words, it's going to get a lot safer. And it sucks that it takes something like this, an actual tragedy, and people lost their lives, for all of us to wake up and to understand and demand answers, because that's what it takes. We all have to demand answers on this kind of stuff and demand changes. But that's coming. I feel really, really confident just reading the tea leaves on this and looking into this story so much and other stories like it. This kind of stuff is going to be really rare. And it was rare already. I mean, it was the second worst crash since 9/11, second worst aviation incident, whatever. But this kind of stuff is going by the wayside. And if there were still a bunch of us out there saying, "I don't understand this. What's the big deal about this DEI thing? What's the big thing about quotas and hiring in these positions?" Now it's hard to find anybody that doesn't understand that, because this is exactly what went on behind this. Incompetence. People hired and put in these positions based on what they look like or how they identify instead of the best and the brightest. They all said it right there. It's exactly right. And then, like the former air traffic controller said, to have an immunity program set in place where you can't hold them responsible? Okay, that kind of stuff is going to stop. So this is why I say fear not. I think, truly believe, this is a watershed moment. And it sucks that it took this to get here. But in this particular industry, it took a watershed moment like this and a horrific one to turn things around and get us all to open our eyes and realize, wow, okay, so it's not only wrong to disqualify people because they don't look right. They're not the right gender or race. It's deadly. It leads to things like this. It unfortunately, for whatever it is, we all know how it works in the real world. It takes things like this, unfortunately, for us to turn things around. And what it takes is all of us to demand something better. They always love to talk about people in the administration. The American people set a mandate for President Trump to get things done. Well, this is a real mandate. This is it. This is all of us together saying, can't have this. We can't accept this. It's not good enough. That's why I say, going forward from this point on, from this moment in history, I think at least flying is never going to be safer. It's going to be so much better than it was before because the people behind it are going to be better at their jobs. And now we got to work on customer service for the airline industry. That's the next thing we have to. Let's hope it's not in a watershed moment for that one. We've already had it, right? If everybody demands better service and better things out of the airline industry, just on that end of it, that's how things get done. So fear not, have hope. Things are going to get a lot safer going forward. I truly, truly believe that. So if you can if you can allow me optimism through a horrific situation, sometimes you got to get through the darkness to get things better. That's just how the world works, but it is going to get better. All right, look, let's get out of that for a second and talk about something. It's the weekend where what? 9, 10, I don't know. A week and change away from the Super Bowl. We're all excited about that. But this is that time of the year where it's kind of like, okay, there's the media day. We're waiting for the game to start if you're interested, whatever. But there's not a lot going on in sports if you're a sports fan. Here's what comes out now, though, to kind of like fill the gap. And it's a really good one. It's a really good feel-good story coming out of the Super Bowl week. And this one is coming from, and I'm sure the Chiefs will have some of their own, but this one is coming from the Eagles side of things. So congratulations, Eagles fans. You're leading this one so far in the feel-good stories. This one's about a young Eagles fan. He's been spending time in a hospital. Will you hear how much time? He just got free tickets to the to the championship game. He's going to the Super Bowl. Now, there's some kind of a guy, an internet do-gooder, who actually gave him these tickets. I need to discover who this guy is, but he's the guy that came up with the entire thing. But here's the kid. He's 8 years old. Zach Daranowski. He's the feel-gooder. MD motivator. Surprising a kid named Declan LeBaron. He's the kid in the hospital with these Super Bowl tickets, and this is freaking awesome. This is how it should be done.
And you've been in the hospital?
17 times.
You've been in the hospital 17 times?
Yeah.
Close your eyes, and on the count of 3, say, fly, Eagles, fly. 1, 2, 3.
Fly, Eagles, fly. Thank you.
Those are tickets you're going to the game, man.
Love you.
Love you, bro.
Hey, listen. There it is.
You know we're going to win it.
It's the best day of his life. I can understand that, too. So he's going to the game, which is fantastic. Here's what he has. Like he said, he's been in the hospital 17 times. Declan has a form of arthritis, juvenile arthritis. So once he gets out of this next turn, he's going to be able to go to the game with his family, which I think is freaking awesome. So congratulations to you, MD Motivator. I got to find out more about that guy because he's doing great work. And then we have, of course, what else happens? I know, I complain about this all the time, but they always release all the Super Bowl commercials too early, right? Because when you're paying millions, was it like $7 million this year for a 30-second Super Bowl ad, you want to get more bang for your buck. So they start releasing these things early. So we've seen half of them by the time the game comes around. I had heard rumors like 3 months ago that this was coming, that it was in production. They brought back the When Harry Met Sally theme with Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. That's out already. You want to hear how that went? Here's a little snippet of how that went. It's pretty... All right, for the ones released so far, it's pretty good.
There we go.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, boy.
So good. Oh, it is so.
This one's real.
Oh.
And that is a sandwich. I'll have what she's having.
There it is. It's okay. It's pretty good. It's, it's all right. I think they both look great. I know they've gotten some criticism. Oh, they look so old. That's how people are on social media. But I think it's good. Here's the thing. Honest to God, I can't remember even what it's for. It might be Hellman's. I don't know. I have this weird block when it comes to Super Bowl commercials. I can never remember. Like, people the next day will say, hey, did you see that Toyota commercial? And I'm like, which one? Oh, it's about the one about the monkey and I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember that one. I don't know what it is. It's like I'm the opposite of what the ad agencies want. I can never remember who the sponsor was, ever. I think it's a mental block, like going back to radio. Because I can't remember. I heard so many commercials in my life, I like block out who the sponsor was, and I can't remember. Honest to God, does anybody else have that? I always block it out. I can never remember who the actual So I'm the opposite of who they're trying to reach, but whatever. We'll see. We'll see if the commercial. That's the best one they've released early so far. Hopefully they hold some back for the big game. I hope so anyway. I don't know. We'll see. We got a week to go. Week and change to go before that happens, though. But more importantly, it's Friday. Thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate you, as always. The audio version of the podcast is going to be on whatever platform you like. It could be iHeart. It could be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. And give me a 5-star on that, too, if you've heard it a few times. That always helps, and a lot of you have, so thank you very much. I appreciate it. And download it. And this is a replay on X and on Facebook and on YouTube and all that other stuff, so whatever. We got a weekend on our hands. And again, the takeaway is, I know it's a horrific, horrific thing with the plane crash. But I'm telling you, this should actually give you hope. It's weird to even say. It must be weird to even hear. But through this watershed moment, things are going to get safer. I feel very confident saying that. Don't fear flying going ahead in the future. Just believe, because things are going to get better from here on out. So that's your first takeaway. The second thing is, like always, don't take any crap from anybody. But most importantly, have a wicked, awesome Friday. Enjoy the weekend. Please be safe. We'll catch up again on Monday, and I'll talk to you then.